So Tron Ares actually releases in about a month now, which is still insane to me because we've been waiting like 15 years for this. But since we're pretty much in the end game until it releases, marketing is now going into full swing, which is not really a surprise because tickets did just release. Now, because tickets released, we actually got a brand new behind the scenes video and a new TV spot. Let's go through some of this footage, starting with the TV spot. And right off the bat, I want to call attention to Ares right here, which you might notice has red light lines. Well, that's not actually going to be the case. In a previous TV spot, we actually saw this exact shot of Ares with white light lines instead. And don't get me wrong, they removed this from the last TV spot within the day, but I think it's pretty interesting that they went back and edited this so they could have it in the new TV spot. You can even see that some of the white light lines aren't even removed in the edit. So this pretty much confirms that Ares will eventually earn white light lines, similar to how Rinsler became Tron again in Tron Legacy. Right after this, we actually see Eve Kim driving on a snowmobile in the snowy mountains, and Ares is kind of explaining to Eve that she found something that Dillinger Systems wants. In the mountains, it almost looks like she has a bit of a portable lab setup. From what we can see on her sunglasses, there's also a bit of a reflection right there, and this looks very similar to what Dillinger Systems is using to bring Ares and Athena to the real world. I mean, you can even kind of see a reflection of the lasers. Moving on, we also have Ares with Eve Kim driving a car, which is pretty bizarre to see because personally, I never thought we would actually see a program driving a car in the real world, especially a car that isn't from the grid. It's also here where Ares reveals to Eve Kim that he was actually sent by Dillinger Systems to kill her. And then we see this really cool shot of Athena crashing into Encom Tower on what I think is maybe a light glider. We don't have an actual official name for this yet, so I'm just gonna go with that name for now. But either way, this looks amazing. We also have a shot here of Kevin Flynn looking up at what could possibly be a portal, and I kind of hope it is because he has suffered enough. Like, when you think about it, he's been stuck in the grid for a collective amount of 1,000 years at this point. This is because we have to remember that time in the grid moves much faster than our time. So even though for us, he was stuck in the grid for a collective amount of 36 years at this point, that was more like centuries for him. And when I say 36 years, I am including the 1982 grid that we see in Tron Ares. But either way, even though I wish the grid actually existed, I think that we can all agree that would be psychological torture. Because Flynn has a life outside of the grid, he has a son, he has a company, but instead he's stuck in the grid with no way out. And at least in Tron Legacy, he had Korra by his side, but now he's all alone in the 82 grid. I mean, there still is a chance that he might not be alone, but from what's been shown in the trailers, it looks that way. Right after this, we also get a quick shot at Julian Dillinger, and one really cool thing I noticed about him in this shot is the actual code tattoos that he has on his arms. I think those are so sick. Now that's about all of the recent footage shown in the most recent TV spot, but there is some more new footage shown in a behind the scenes video, which we'll dive into right now. One of the first shots we actually see here is a Dillinger Systems program, which looks to be Ares because he has a triangular disc right there, entering what I think is the new Encom grid. And the reason I think it's the new Encom grid is because it has that whole daylight vibe that we've seen before in previous trailers, along with the blue color scheme similar to Tron Legacy. Shortly after this, we also see Eve Kim and Ares in the Dillinger grid, and what's really interesting about this is the actual disc on the back of Eve Kim. Originally, I actually thought that her disc was pretty much the exact same design as Tron Legacy, especially since the new Encom grid looks so similar to Tron Legacy's grid, but no, this is actually completely different. Of course, on the outside, it's pretty similar to Tron Legacy because it's more of a circular disc, but on the inside edges of the disc, you actually might notice it's a bit more hexagonal, and on the sides of the disc, it has more of a blue color, which really reminds me of Tron Uprising, specifically Tron's disc that he gives to Beck. We also have a few more shots of the light glider, which I showcased earlier, and here when it lands, it almost looks a bit more like a jetpack, which is pretty cool. Now, a bit later on, we also see Eve riding a light cycle, but the reason this is important is because she actually does not have a light suit on. At San Diego Comic-Con during the Tron Ares Hall H panel, there was a scene that was shown to the audience, which actually shows Eve Kim hijacking Athena's light cycle, and this is probably that exact scene. Now, the way I actually view Eve just driving a light cycle is very similar to how I saw Ares just driving a car. It's very bizarre to see someone with everyday clothing on just driving a light cycle, and I'm not saying this is actually a bad thing, it's just that once again, I'm so used to seeing someone with a light suit on driving this. Right after this, we see something that was inevitable to happen in this franchise at some point, and that is the famous Akira slide. I believe this is actually the first time we're seeing this ever in the Tron franchise, which is insane because this franchise has been running for over 40 years, so it's extremely satisfying to finally see this happen. At the end of the behind the scenes video, there's also a list of credits right here, and it officially confirms that Joseph Kosinski is an executive producer for Tron Ares. I know many people were hoping he's at least somewhat involved, so there's an official confirmation. We also got some other really cool ads for Tron areas, including 2 Sunday Night Football ads. In this first one, we actually see a recognizer invading a football stadium, while Saquon Barkley from the Eagles actually stands in the middle of the stadium to witness it transform into a stadium from the Dillinger grid. Right then, he's charged up by a light cycle and does a reverse hurdle over it, which is so cool in my opinion. But like I said earlier, that's not the only ad we have. This one is a bit shorter, but we once again have Saquon Barkley returning and driving a light cycle. I also gotta hand it to the VFX team because the CGI here looks amazing just for a Sunday Night Football ad. There's also one more ad that I do have to mention, and it's Mr. Beast as a Dillinger Systems program. And this one is pretty interesting to say the least. There is a lot of controversy over this, so I am going to limit how much I talk about this. Now, I'm not up to date on the drama surrounding Mr. Beast, and at the end of the day, I don't need to be because this is a Tron channel, but I will admit that I think it's pretty silly to let someone who's not even in Tron areas, but just an ad, drive you away from going to see the movie. But moving on, we got a lot of new posters as well. There's like 7 of these in total, but it's also because it's for every theater format. But I think my favorite out of all of the new posters definitely has to be the international poster and the new IMAX poster. Starting with the international poster, I love how we finally have a poster featuring all of the characters, especially Kevin Flynn, and it's so nice to see him front and center right here because at the end of the day, Kevin Flynn did jumpstart this whole franchise when he was transported to the grid in Tron 82. Now, this other poster is probably my favorite poster that we've gotten for Tron Ares so far. We kind of just see Ares witnessing Center City become completely invaded by the Dillinger grid. But what I'm still really shocked by is that we don't have a single Tron Ares poster where any of the characters are doing the classic Tron pose. It would be kind of unfortunate not to see it return because it's pretty much a tradition in this franchise now. It obviously all started with the original Tron, and then we got it for Tron Legacy, Tron Uprising, Tron 2.0, and even Tron Evolution, although the high quality version of this image is pretty much lost media now. Either way, I just really hope we see this classic Tron pose return, whether it be in the actual film or in a new poster. Something that I actually did not expect was that Kohl's released a bunch of Tron Ares merch on their website, and I really like the designs here. I might actually have to pick some of these up if they become available outside of the US, especially this light cycle one right here. I love that design so much. But yeah, you can already buy any of these at Kohl's in the US. Since tickets did just release, I was actually surprised to see that there's a lot of fan screenings going on all around the world. First of all, there's going to be an IMAX 3D double feature featuring Tron Legacy and Tron Ares. And if you also go to one of these showings, you will also receive a pin set. Now at the El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles, there's going to be a Tron triple feature, which I am so jealous of. I really wish I could go to this. If you go to this, you will also get a pin set, a Tron Ares hat, and a collectible tin. And on top of this, the El Capitan Theater will also be hosting a Tron Ares Friday night fan event. We also did have a few popcorn buckets revealed, starting with this amazing light cycle popcorn bucket, which is probably the most obvious one that could have been made. Not that it's a bad thing, but it just makes the most sense. Along with this, they also revealed a Tron Ares arcade popcorn bucket, and personally, I find this just as cool because it even has the classic joystick from the original Tron arcade cabinet. One thing I do know for sure is that my wallet will be on life support after October. Anyways, that's all the news I have for you guys today. I'll see you guys later. End of line.